and welcome back to this third round of the ERC Community Nights with the Formula Ford 1600, or also for the official series if you're following along for that too. So let's get started. So coming in along to corner one here, I use my reference point for braking right around this part right here, where you're coming onto sort of asphalt on like an exit road, sort of. So from the cockpit view, it looks like this. Very, pretty much right as you cross it. I don't brake that hard because if you brake too hard, you'll actually lose the grip and go sliding into the sand right here. So it's a good trick to brake right around. I mean, this was not even like maybe 40%. You don't want to brake hard here. And you also don't want to downshift too early because that's going to make way too much engine braking. The goal here really is to come in right here. Don't get your wheels on this sort of yellow sausage curb or else you'll go flying, literally. So try to make sure to not do that and you'll be fine. So don't forget to downshift right when you reach this curb. It's the best time, in my opinion. A bit earlier too if you want, like I did. But as long as you don't downshift before the curb too early, you'll be fine and you won't be losing too much traction. Coming into this corner, I keep on the brakes. I see some people getting back on throttle for a little while in between these two corners. My opinion, I don't feel comfortable doing it, but if you can, good for you. But that's just me. So coming to the corner here, we're gonna downshift into second, right before we reach the curb, and we're gonna trail it as long as possible until we feel like it's a right time to get back on throttle. Maybe a bit of coasting, but not that much. You can see, I mean, I kept maybe I was like 5%, maybe it felt like 1%, all the way to this sort of mid point of the corner, coasted for a tiny bit, and then got back on throttle. The goal in this car is to not scrub too much. The second you scrub too much, you'll be losing a lot of time, especially on corner exits. If you scrub too much to try and reach an apex, you'll find yourself very slow on acceleration. So try to make sure to get the right line, but not force the car. If you're forcing the car, you're doing something wrong. Usually that's to be linked with trail braking. So if you are forcing the car, try to look towards your trail braking. You can see I get back on throttle pretty aggressively. I give it some time, going to like 75%, and then gradually build up. Using the whole tracking corner exit right here. Coming into this corner, I'm going to use the start of this sort of pavement or curb, whatever you want to call it. That's going to be my reference point. I'm going to be using it pretty well, starting directly at the start here. And sorry, I just said the same word two times. Braking directly at the start here and braking pretty hard to 70%, maybe 75, depending on how you look at it. And downshifting pretty much instantly to really use that engine braking. Very important. You can see I don't upshift to fourth. I go from third to second pretty much instantly. Then coming into the corner, I trail it off pretty fast, but I keep some pressure there because the second you get off brakes with this car, it instantly unloads the fronts and makes it understeer like crazy, and it's just not responsive. So you need to keep some braking, even if it's 1%, it doesn't matter. It's better than none. So as you can see, I reach sort of mid-apex, wait a tiny bit, and then get back on throttle pretty aggressively because this corner has a sort of compression with this camber, so you can be a bit more aggressive with the throttle. Do make sure to never mount this curb right here too much because with this very stiff suspension on the Formula Ford, you'll see yourself actually disrupting the car and making the wheel spin and more than likely spin the car. So try to make sure to not grab the curbs. You can run out pretty wide here. I run out almost to the grass, but I do keep some room. If you are comfortable going deeper into that sort of curbing, as you please. Just make sure not to get an off track. All right, coming into this corner, I use the most track possible here without grabbing the cone. Second you hit a cone, usually it's an off track. So try to make sure to not hit him. I use the approach to the corner here as a reference point. I start lifting when I feel the camber of the corner hit. There is a very slight camber here, if I can try to show it to you. Right around here. There's a very subtle but existent camber that you want to take advantage of. So coming into the corner here, when I start to feel the camber approaching, I start releasing the throttle very lightly. Well, not lightly. I mean, I gradually release it, but once I've reached the apex of this corner or the curbing, I'm completely off for a little time. I wait a bit. I don't really brake that much. You can brake a tiny bit, but the goal here is just to turn the car so that I get a pretty good entry here. And once I'm back on this curb, I can get back on throttle. And to be honest, this kind of goes against the fact I said don't grab the curbs. Usually that goes for low speed exits like the hairpin, where it's a bit more crucial to not hit him. Here doesn't really unsettle the car. There's downforce, even if there's not that much in this car, it's enough to keep it under load. Full throttle all the way to this curb. Again, you can eat it. Like I said, for high speeds, it doesn't really matter. As long as you're not completely eating the sausage curb, you're fine. So I sort of took it half and half. So it's all right. Diminish throttle a tiny bit as I'm coming into this curb just to make it a little bit less hard on the car. Second I get off it, I brake as much as possible without locking the wheels, so around 70%. I try my best to trail, and this is going to be treated like a double apex. So that means we're going to be grabbing this apex, and then all the way further there is going to be our second. So it's going to do something like this, and it's going to come back around. So this is like sort of my first reference. I got to hit this, then keep trailing. Again, this is sort of coasting if you want. I felt like keeping brake pressure would sometimes make me slow down too much, but getting back on accelerator would unload the fronts too much. So it was sort of a balance between what should I do. I found coasting would be the fastest option here. So I wait a tiny bit and put back some throttle, not too much as to not unload the fronts too much. And then once I feel like I'm almost done with the corner, I get back on throttle. Our second apex is going to be right here. So following our double apex corner is going to be the second apex. You're going to come out all the way here and go all the way out on an exit. So it's going to look like this. I did have a little wheel spin there, mainly because I got back on throttle maybe a tiny bit too early, but I maybe lost, I'd say even like a fifth of a tenth. It's almost nothing. Here I upshift to third. I try not to grab the sausage curb because we are coming into a complex, so I need the car to be responsive after this corner, which means I can't just try and completely jump the corner. So I pass really near it without actually jumping on it. And this corner is kind of weird. You can completely and shamelessly go into this green part as long as you don't hit this cone. Second you hit this cone, it's an off track. So try to make sure to not hit it. Like I do here. You can see the second I reach this cone, I get completely off throttle. And this following corner is pretty tricky. It took me a couple tries to get it right. So basically, once you're off this curbing and you feel like you're at the right spot, I mean, there's not really a reference point here. The second you're off the curbing, you could start braking like I do. You're going to downshift a second to get as much response in the engine as possible, higher revs, and you're going to trail very lightly. Again, just loading the fronts. 10%, it's going to feel like 1%. And the second you can get the nose to turn towards the curbing, you're going to turn as right as much as possible to keep going on this curbing and just full throttle the whole way through. And as soon as you can, you're going to upshift to third. even if you're mid-apex, like I did right here. I upshift, basically still touching the curbing. That's going to get you the best acceleration by going into second, and you're going to be able to keep accelerating by going into third before the end of the corner. Using the full track on exit here, we're going to fast forward a bit. I use the space between the big solar group panel here and the 100 board here as my reference point, so I brake basically in between right here, using all the track on entry. You could hear me hit the grass there, like I'm completely using the whole track, which is very important for this corner if you want to go as fast as possible. So following that, we're going to brake to around 70% again. As always, usually I find like that's the best pressure. If you go harder than that, you're going to find yourself maybe locking the rears, maybe oversteering too much on an entry, so that's my sweet spot. Trail braking pretty fast, but maintaining some pressure. I mean, this looks like nothing, but trust me, it is a huge difference from not doing anything, which is really weird, but it's true. So trailing, and the second you feel like you can keep this sort of line all the way to the next corner, this complex, you want to sacrifice the corner exit. So don't go there. What you want to do is go like this and then come in. So it's sort of counterintuitive, but it's just sacrificing the corner. So pull to the right as much as possible, and then turn left when you feel like you're sort of seeing. It's kind of hard to describe this corner. When you feel like you're about to miss this corner, you're going to turn in to late apex as much as possible. So it's a question of feeling here. Just go with a couple tries, and at some point you'll get it. So again, 1% brakes, basically nothing, you can see it, just so that I can reload the fronts and get some more nose authority to turn the car into the corner. Again, light braking, I got back on throttle a bit because I was unsure, which isn't optimal, but it worked. Then get back on throttle right before the apex, using the whole corner on exit here. This corner is going to be a slight jab of the brake, just to slow it down a tiny bit, because if you do not slow down here, you're going to go into the sand like this. So ideally, you do like a 10% and then trail it for a little while, again, 1%. And again, it's going to feel like nothing until you actually compare it to doing nothing, which is a lot worse. So you still always want to keep a little 1% until you feel like the nose is well pointed, and then you can mash the throttle here completely, using the whole track on exit. Here, don't be shy to use the green sort of separator for your corner entry. I'm gonna brake basically right before reaching like when your nose is about to reach this white line, start braking. I brake pretty hard for this corner, around 65-70%. And again, trail it pretty well until you feel like you can carry that much speed into the corner. Again, it's a lot of feeling in this car. It's hard to explain. So just keep a little bit of brakes until you feel like you're at the right spot and get back on throttle. As long as you don't hit the curb here, like I said, I grabbed it a tiny bit. You can, but if you do it too aggressively, you can hear right here when I'm sort of getting back on throttle, you can hear a lot of tire scrubbing from the rears. A tiny bit too much, but it was fine. But if you did any more than this, in my opinion, you'd start sort of oversteering because the car would be so unsettled. So be careful about that. And that's pretty much the end of the lab guide. So that's going to be it for me. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions, I'll be on the ERC Discord, and see you in the next week.